Pigments, are they safe? Can they be trusted?
You don't know the power of poisonous pigments.
That's what we're going to find out here today.
The things I do for safety.
There are a lot of confusing things about pigments and their safety and what it means to be safe around pigments. And I think that it is confusing because sometimes it's not the pigment that is the issue, but the things around the pigment. Now, I don't mean the paint, but I mean things like solvents and stuff. But basically, the majority of pigments are inert. They are safe. They are fine. They are not going to cause any major issues, okay? Especially inside the paint themselves. Now, pigments on their own, if you're trying to mix your own paint, that's when you can get into some respiratory issues, okay? So if you are mixing your own paints and you are having loose pigment out there that can get in your lungs, you'll want to wear, I mean, if bare minimum a mask, but really respirator just to be safe because you can inhale those pigments. Similarly, if you're using solvents that are not Chelsea Classical Studio, I don't know, they're the best, that are not Chelsea Classical Studio, seriously, even if it says odorless thinner, solvents can be noxious and you want to be in a well-ventilated area or wear one of these masks to help protect yourself. But in paint itself, it's not airborne, okay? This isn't like Outbreak, all right? There's no monkey involved. It's just paint. So what does it mean when it says on a tube of paint, poison, keep out of reach of children? Well, essentially two things. One, don't eat it, and don't let it sit prolonged on your skin. Those are the two things that you really have to worry about. So how do you know if a pigment's safe? Because not everybody says poison, keep out of reach of children. These people at Matisse are serious. In the United States, we have something called ASTM D4236. If you see that, ASTM D4236, it basically just means it's legal to sell in the United States. That's anything, whether it's toxic, non-toxic, it meets the standards to be sold, okay? But there is a company out there that's third party called ACMI, and they put a special label that certain paint companies go through the extra testing to make sure that it's either AP, which is an approved product, meaning non-toxic, okay? You seeing that, Will? All right. Or something like cadmium, all right, because the heavy metals are really what are more dangerous. So your cadmiums, your cobalts, lead, I mean, these are the things that you really want to avoid prolonged exposure for eating or breathing in. They will have CL, okay, it's a cautionary label, all right? Got that? So should you avoid using poisonous color? No, I mean, if you are smart about it and you're safe about it and you're not worried about kids eating it, I mean, they still sell it in California. How dangerous could it possibly be? Actually, in California, they do have their own additional labeling that is through the government called Prop 65. And I apologize because I know we have some viewers out there that are overseas. I'm sure that there is some special way that they have all over the world that they label tubes of paint. But essentially, if you are not sure if it's a heavy metal like cadmiums or cobalts or lead or anything like that, you can assume it is going to be on the more cautionary label side. The other way that you can know, the more expensive the paint is, it seems to be the more toxic it is. I don't know why that is. It's not always the case. Don't quote me on that, Will. But generally speaking, it can be the case that because those cadmiums and cobalts are expensive pigments. Okay, so how do you paint properly to avoid poisoning yourself? You might see some people put a rubber on. If you wear gloves, and usually most normal people will just put it on the one hand that they're painting with, but I like symmetry. That will help. If you don't want to wear gloves because they take away the sensation, there are other things that can help, okay? Okay, now. Oh. There are products like gloves in a bottle. I've used this for several years that are help designed to moisturize and protect your hands from that stuff absorbing in, okay? Is it as effective as a latex glove? I'm not going to say for sure. I mean, I don't know. The way nature intended is what it says. This sounds like a product that does. They say yes, okay? But, and I've used this, but I'm also very neurotic. So I won't necessarily leave paint on my skin for a long time, but I do use this product personally. And it does make it easier. Even if you don't care about safety, I will tell you something that when I use this, if I get paint on my skin, it comes off easier if I've applied this before. That is, for me, it's awesome. So don't let fear of a pigment stop you from doing art, okay? It is very safe to use. This is, like I said, as long as you're using it and following those practices, you're going to find that it's just as fine to use this as it is anything else. The only exceptions, just to recap a little bit, is when you are using loose pigments, okay, and that's going to be airborne, not in a suspension like paint. Doesn't matter if it's watercolor, oil, acrylic, or if it's if you're using solvents or different mediums that have thinners in them. Even if it says odorless, unless it's Chelsea Classical Studio, it is not non-toxic. So there are carcinogens in that. So make sure that you protect yourself. Okay. So the point is, you're safe with paint. If you're smart about it, you're safe with art, and you're safe with me on Instagram at Mike Not Jerry, where I'll continue to add safety tips, just the tips, all kind of tips just for you. I find it really funny that I'm doing a video on safety after I nearly burnt the place down. I mean, it's really... Do we still have the fire extinguisher? Oop, there it is. It's tight.
Let's do this, Michael.
It's tight, but usually that means I'll get a better sensation. I can't get it off now. And it's filling with air somehow. Oh, breathe. I need that back.